Some trouble may be emerging for President Biden and the Democrats ahead of the 2022 midterm elections, with his policies on schools and spending putting moderate Democrats in a tough position. This as some view the president as not being far left enough to energize that base. Karl Rove writing in the Wall Street Journal, Democrats can't afford a radical agenda or a dispirited base, but Mr. Biden might manage to give them both. And Karl Rove, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff and Fox News contributor, joins us now. Hi, Karl. So the question is, can he make anybody happy here?
Well, it's going to be difficult because there's so much that's going to be put on his plate here. Just think about it. We've got the bipartisan infrastructure bill. We got the partisan infrastructure bill. They got to raise the debt ceiling. They got to approve a budget. A federal judge has declared the DACA program that for Dreamers can no longer accept applications, and so there's got to be a legislative solution. And then you look at the world, and they're just, all across the globe, there are challenges. And the question is the president up to it? And is he got time? Does he have time to get these things done? And I think we're going to see a train wreck on Capitol Hill with the administration this fall. And that's going to leave the left and right of the Democratic Party upset and facing the elections in the midterm next year.
I remember early on, I think it was February or March, where voters said, I voted for Joe Biden, but I didn't vote for this. And that stuck with you. Remember that comment, right, Karl? And you think about suburban flight away from Republican voters, you wonder if what did Twain say, that rumors of my death have been greatly exaggerated? When you look at crime and the border and inflation, clearly these issues must be talked about and recognized by millions of Americans now.
Yes, and add into that the attempt to make our education system woke. And look, we're seeing some evidence of that. People are getting concerned about inflation, and the president's dismissive of it. There's a new poll out today from the No Labels group, a bipartisan sort of centrist group, that shows there are significant numbers that the more they know about the partisan so-called infrastructure bill, the American Jobs Plan, with the administration says $3.5 trillion of spending, but in reality, it's a lot more than that. The more they know about it, the less they like it. And so I think the administration, look, he's in an okay position today, but I think the trend lines are really bad. And he could end up, as I said in my piece, with both the image of a radical agenda in the minds of many swing voters and a Democratic base that's upset because they don't think he's gone far enough and fast enough and effective enough in getting all of their things done, starting with the federal takeover elections, HB1, which is now become sort of a centerpiece of the left-wing agenda.
You know what everybody does understand? The rising price of just about everything in our everyday lives, right, from food to fuel, Karl. And I know you're talking a lot about that. And the president took a question on that last night. And it seems the solution he's offering in his policies is more government will eventually lead to lower prices. Listen.
If we pass the other two things I'm trying to get done, we will, in fact, reduce inflation, because we're going to be providing good opportunities and jobs for people who, in fact, are going to be reinvesting that money back in all the things we're talking about, driving down prices, not raising prices.
Is that the solution, to spend more money, Karl?
Hasn't worked yet in the history of mankind. Inflation is too much money chasing too few goods. And the fact that you go out and spend a lot of government money, a lot of it backed by debt, some of it backed by higher taxes on people who are working, and you're suddenly somehow going to be able to dampen down costs. I don't think that's the case. In fact, what's interesting to me is that he talks about good jobs, and yet he's talking about expanding things from universal pre-K to paid leave, and you name it, it's all in there. And there's no work requirement. So the government's going to give you a lot more free and not require you to be working or trying to work or looking for work. And that's somehow going to create more jobs. Look at the jobs report today. We're a lot more unemployment claims today, unexpected. And I think it's because people are starting to price in what they're seeing from this government, which is lots more spending, lots more freebies, and how are we going to pay for it?
You're talking about those jobless claims rising by 419,000 last week. That's an increase of 51,000. That's pretty good. That's a level not seen since early June, Karl. Yet we're cutting a lot of checks and talking about massive amounts of spending still when things are getting better. Karl, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Thank you, Karl.
You bet.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.